Welcome to my conscious living space. It's been quite some time since I posted a video, and that was intentionally because I put together some profound footage, snippets from an economist, Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, as well as others you'll want to hear from, AI experts, and so on. AI architects, those who are in the know, and this will allow us to stay ahead of the masses and prepare for the age of augmented intelligence, which began about 2.5 years ago with ChatGPT for most of us. For others in IT and computer science, they've been waiting for this moment for decades, about 60 years, 6 decades or so, like Ray Kurzweil and others who wrote The Singularity is Near, and the singularity is near indeed. So you're going to hear a lot of information, actionable information. Some of it may be shocking to you, some of it may not, for those who are staying in the know regarding frontier AI models, LLMs, and so on. So without further ado, I'll go right into footage from a Harvard economist. Listen to what he says and take notes. Don't believe anything, verify everything, as one of my great teachers told me. Here we go. The future of work in the age of intelligence amplification. The future is now.
My research is on the economics of artificial general intelligence, so it means of AI systems that surpass human intellectual capabilities across the board. I have started focusing on that 10 years ago when this was very much a niche activity, but I think now we are so close, we are just a couple years from it, and the research is suddenly extremely urgent and relevant in much shorter timescales. And within this field, the questions I'm looking at are, how will AGI affect labor markets? How will it affect growth and productivity? How will it affect market concentration? And then a second strand of research that I'm looking at is, if we think that these AGI systems are going to be so powerful, how shall we envision the process of integrating them into the economy and integrating them into activities like my own research? Right now, I'm researching how can we include AI agents in the research process, and how can they allow us to make progress faster on all the important questions that our society is facing.
Are we nearing the point where AI matches human intelligence?
In a lot of domains, I think we have already crossed that point. So in some sense, AIs are better than most humans at performing math. They are much better at analyzing large quantities of text. They are much better in a growing number of domains. But of course, right now, I think it is clear that AI is nowhere near as good as the best humans, the best human experts. In some sense, you can see we are like in a big race between the AI superpowers about who makes progress faster. If AI takes off and if we do reach AGI, that in itself would be an absolutely radical development on the economic front. And that kind of radical development would also require a radical response.
So, you heard what Anton Kornett said. He said that AI models are already better than, in so many words, most people at economically valuable tasks. That's what he's talking about. And OpenAI recently revealed data that shows that their new agent, which will land on the plus tier membership soon, which is what I pay $20 a month for. I can't wait to use it. It matches or surpasses humans regarding all economically valuable tasks. That means when it outright outstrips every human, even experts, then companies will be incentivized to replace people, to take more humans out of the loop. To take more humans out of the loop to save money by paying a company like OpenAI or Google's DeepMind or Anthropic AI to use their model to do economically valuable work. Something that can use a computer, that can use a keyboard, that can navigate the web, that can conduct research, that can create slides and keynotes, and even simulate reasoning, sound human, and outthink human beings. But that doesn't mean that we'll be out of a job. That means that we will have to learn how to leverage AI skillfully until we can make money off of AI. Best case scenario, there will be a way for all of us to profit based on the exponential evolution of AI through data dividends or UBI or Universal Basic Services, UBS, UBH, Universal Basic Housing. Some way, somehow, we'll be able to either save money or make more money or both. Otherwise, I don't see much of a utopia between now and 2030, 2040. Yet, I remain cautiously optimistic. On to more crucial footage.
I think the job of the future is entrepreneur. So in the United States, for the last 100 years, the number of new firm creation has gone down. You know, if you're in Silicon Valley, it feels like everyone's starting a startup. But in the rest of the states, actually, it's become rarer and rarer over time. And big companies have grown much bigger. And so I think what's going to happen is a lot more people going to be able to start companies. And I think within companies, you're going to see a lot more entrepreneurs. There's people that have ideas at any given company, and finally they'll have the tools to something needs to be changed about the education system or how we think about it. Obviously, things like Code with Clauses is very important in this new world. But maybe a return to apprenticeship, maybe thinking about even knowledge work as some kind of trade work. You can learn it in months or like a year, as opposed to like a 4-year college degree, which obviously all the student debt and all the inefficiencies in that system. I think something needs to be rethought there.
You heard it from him, not me. Something needs to change about the educational system or how we think about it. And that's something I've been thinking about since my early 20s, which is why I decided not to go into debt for a degree. Thank goodness I didn't. I have no student loan debt, no medical debt, and that says a lot these days. Yet all the while I've been educating myself, and when I meet college educated people, they think I am a PhD individual. And that's just because I'm a lifelong learner. I'm always learning. I taught myself the basics of neuroscience, economics recently, and with AI, I've been able to learn even more at a faster rate. And so as AI evolves exponentially, the way I learn has increased dramatically. It's amazing. I'm living in a renaissance here in 2025. And as models get smarter, I get smarter, we get smarter. Our collective brain grows. So the 4-year school model is over. It's been dead to me a long time ago. We can't justify, that is, rational individuals going into debt for a worthless, useless degree. Most degrees entail knowledge that you can learn on your own, or better yet, through an apprenticeship model. Just like a plumber or electrician, why can't people study with a doctor and within a year or two, not 4, 6, or 8, actually be able to work, especially with AI that's making better diagnosis than most MDs. That's why smart doctors are already using AI. Actual fact. You don't believe me? Follow the oncologist, the scientist, Deria Unatmas on X. He's an oncologist. He uses all of the AI models. He had special access to ChatGPT's reasoner model, and he's been praising that along with Grok 3.5 and Grok 4, as well as Gemini 2.5 Pro. He mentioned that the doctors, his colleagues that he knows personally, are using it, and if you don't use it, you will be replaced. Surgeons have been using robots now for over a decade. Eventually, robots will do the work that surgeons do, but they will supervise them. I said before, I say it again, we will be managing agents. That's the future of work. Managing, supervising AI. And if you know how to do that, you'll have work. If you don't, then you will be outsourced. You'll be replaced. That's why I'm passionate about this content, and it's important that you listen attentively and take notes and prepare. All the while, don't get stressed out. Don't be too anxious. This is just the nascent phase, the early days of the age of superintelligence. First, general intelligence will come online within the next 3 to 5 years or so, and then quickly thereafter, superintelligence. But we already have superintelligence in certain domains now, and that's what the economist was saying that you heard from earlier. And that's what other AI experts are saying. So here we go with more crucial footage.
Well, welcome to the big interview, Demis.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's start talking about AGI a little here. Now, you founded DeepMind with the idea that you would solve intelligence and then use intelligence to solve everything else. And I think it was like a 20-year mission. We're like 15 years into it, and you're on track?
I feel like, yeah, we're pretty much dead on track, actually, as what would be our estimate.
That means 5 years away from, what I guess people will call AGI.
Yeah, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, that would be my, maybe 50% chance that we'll have what we're defined as AGI, yes.
Well, some of your peers are saying 2 years, 3 years, others say a little more, but that's really close. That's really soon. How do we know that we're that close?
There's a bit of a debate going on at the moment in the field about definitions of AGI, and then, of course, dependent on that, there's different predictions for when it will happen. We've been pretty consistent from the very beginning, and actually Shane Legg, one of my co-founders and our chief scientist, he helped define the term AGI back in, I think, early 2001 type of time frame. And we've always thought about it as a system that has the ability to exhibit sort of all the cognitive capabilities we have as humans. And the reason that's important, the reference to the human mind is the only existence proof we have, maybe in the universe, that general intelligence is possible. So if you want to claim sort of general intelligence, AGI, then you need to show that it generalizes to all these domains.
Is when everything's filled in, all the check marks are filled in, then when we have it,
Yes, so I think there are missing capabilities right now, that all of us who've used the latest sort of LLMs and chatbots will know very well, like on reasoning, on planning, on memory. I don't think today's systems can invent true invention, true creativity, hypothesize new scientific theories. They're extremely useful, they're impressive, but they have holes. And actually, one of the main reasons I don't think we're at AGI yet is because of the consistency of responses. In some domains, we have systems that can do international maths Olympiad maths problems, to gold medal standard with our alpha-proof system. But on the other hand, these systems sometimes still trip up on high school maths or even counting the number of letters in a word. Yeah. So that to me is not what you would expect. That level of sort of difference in performance across the board is not consistent enough, and therefore shows that these systems are not fully generalizing yet.
You heard the masterful computer scientist, Nobel Prize winning scientist Demis Hassabis say it. We don't have AGI yet because, as Dwarkesh Patel said, we have an idiot savant in the form of frontier LLMs, the best models. That is to say, they do things masterfully and then idiotically. They do things that are outright dumb sometimes, and that's why we need humans in the loop. But once we do get a bona fide AGI model, then we have to start talking about post-labor economics, and that's what David Shapiro has been mastering. Follow him on YouTube. His content is amazing, and I'm sure many economists appreciate what he's doing, as well as any intellectual individuals thinking about our future and our well-being. And so here we go. A few more snippets left.
In my mind, jobs will be lost. When they are lost, they're going to be lost massively.
Far more people are in denial or doing nothing than are overreacting.
I do think governments are woefully underprepared.
Now it comes down to, are we going to design a world that is good for people or not?
I really worry, particularly at the entry level, that the AI models are very much at the center of what an entry-level human worker would do. A little bit more worried about the labor impact simply because it's happening so fast that yes, people will adapt, but they may not adapt fast enough, and so there may be an adjustment period. In terms of inequality, I'm worried about this. There's an inherent social contract in democracy where ultimately, the ordinary person has a certain amount of leverage because they're contributing to the economy. If that leverage goes away, then it's hard to make democracy. It's harder to make democracies work, and it's harder to prevent concentration of power. And so, we need to make sure that the ordinary person maintains economic leverage and has a way to make a living, or our society, our social contract won't work. And that's why I think
you've previously in the past said you've described a future where cancer is cured, the economy grows at 10% a year, the budget is balanced, and 20% of people don't have jobs.
The quote you just flashed is maybe too optimistic, maybe too sanguine about the ability for people to adapt. People have adapted to past technological changes, but I'll say again, everyone I've talked to has said this technological change looks different. It looks faster. It looks harder to adapt to. It's broader. The pace of progress keeps catching people off guard. I think the benefits are massive. And we need to find a way to achieve benefits and mitigate or prevent the harms. And the second thing I would say is, look, there are, as you mentioned, 6 or 7 companies in the U.S. building this technology, right? If we stop doing it tomorrow, the rest would continue. If all of us somehow stopped doing it tomorrow, then China would just beat us. And I don't think China winning in this technology is, I don't think that helps anyone.
Yeah, Dario looks really worried there, doesn't he? He's got the wrinkled forehead, and then Anderson Cooper looks even more worried. And rightfully so. I think the short-term job displacement is imminent. When I talk to people at random, people in power, far more people are in denial or doing nothing than are overreacting. So it's actually good for Dario to be saying these things to at least wake up the masses to the immense amount of change that's imminent. I do think there is a lot of short-term job loss coming, but far, far, far more opportunity being created. So it's kind of a foot race between creators, entrepreneurs, reinventing what people do versus automators coming and just automating away white-collar jobs and then ultimately robotics and blue-collar jobs.
Mo, you've been speaking about this for a while. Is Dario overplaying this, or is he spot on?
Oh, no, he's underplaying it for sure. My predictions is 10, 20, 30, 40% unemployment in some sectors.
In what time frame?
Within the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah. I think there are always 3 questions to answer. One is, does anyone on this call believe that the technology is not going to catch up for some of those jobs that, like a graphic design or a video editor, for example, those sectors are gone. I mean, today with Vio 3 giving you a minute of video that's better than Avatar for 17 cents, you can create the movie Avatar for around $1,500 if you make mistakes on the way, right? So that, I don't know how we can save those jobs, to be quite honest. If that's the case, then the next question becomes financial, right? Because, if we had not been stuck in a system of capitalism where the entire profitability of a business and the legal requirement of a CEO is to prioritize shareholder, gains, and accordingly, I do not see a situation where people will be given 2-day working weeks, paid the same. The third is ideological, to be very honest, because even things like UBI sound quite a bit like socialism or communism to me. So there will be quite a bit of resistance before we can get to the point where governments accept that these are systems that they will adopt. So in my mind, jobs will be lost in some sectors earlier than others, and we can name quite a few of those. But when they are lost, they're going to be lost massively. On the other hand, the ideology and the existing system will not allow us to replace that quickly enough because we're not awake. And I think the more interesting one in the statement that Dario mentioned is that he says 10% economic gains. I wonder, because how much of the US economy is actually consumption? 62% plus of the US economy is consumption. So with people having no buying power. Is that economic growth or productivity growth without buyers to buy what we make?
Yeah.
Hi, Reid. My name is Michael Astorino. I'm a junior at Wesleyan University. And my question for you is, what can students be doing to truly get ahead of AI right now? Not just learning how to prompt, but learning how to use it in ways that create real value.
I love this question because in part, it's saying, hey, I'm already engaging, because you're thinking about what the prompting landscape looks like. Now, the first thing for everyone is don't discount how important prompting skills will be. This is actually one of the things that one of my own personal beliefs right now is that no one is prompting in particularly good ways. So we're all like 5% users. Like there's this kind of old myth that we only use like 3 or 5% of our brains. Well, I think we're at best at that at our current prompting skills. And so developing prompting skills, always be learning. It's one of the things that I ask people constantly when I am engaging with people who've been using AI is, well, how are you using it? What have you thought about in terms of how to prompt these things in better ways? And so every single time that I actually, in fact, am talking to someone who is engaging, it's one of the things that I'm constantly learning. And I could spend an hour going through all of the strategies and tips and tricks and all the rest of that. And I think that's really important to do. Now, the other part to get to it is to say, think about how to use AI strategically. So it's not just, okay, I'm prompting, but which problems could it be applied to? How could it be applied to those problems in ways that is interesting and unique? It could generate, particularly good content. Because this is one of the ways that the world of work will be changing. Within, 2 to 5 years, all of us will be using AI co-pilots, along with what we're doing. And it's a question of how do we use them smartly?
That last snippet featured Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. And so I hope you paid attention to all that was said. Take notes, stay tuned for more content with actionable, crucial information, as well as content covering meditative living, also known as the art of mindful living. I call it conscious living, to use more secular, acceptable terminology that more people will absorb, that will have a greater impact, I believe, on the lives of more people. So be well, be happy, be productive, stay in the know, boost your human capital, enjoy lifelong learning like yours truly, the modern Contemplatives.